The Canadian Navy is right at the beginning of the largest rejuvenation in its peacetime history. We're spending in the order of $4.3 billion to complete the Halifax-class Modernization Frigate Life Extension program. The ships were designed in the Cold War, and I think they were designed for Cold War missions. That would have meant largely anti-submarine warfare work and anti-surface warfare work, and the line between Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom as part of Cold War readiness and deterrence. That is an open ocean. Ironically, just as these ships were about to be delivered based on that design, the wall fell, Cold War ended, and although initially everyone thought that there would be a great peace dividend, in fact the experience has taught us the other way. There's been more hotspots, more troubles in all of the tough neighborhoods of the world. And so we've been employing and leveraging the capability that was built into the frigates for employment around the world. We've brought it into the Littoral, and we've faced a different kind of threat. We were of course able to do that because of the capacity built into the ship and by adapting our tactics.
Orbital Captain, Cedar F-180 to operate.
Hi, sir.
I'm the captain of HMCS Halifax, the first of 12 Halifax-class frigates built in the 1990s. Halifax herself was commissioned in 1992.
I name you HMCS Halifax. God bless the ship and all who sail on her.
We're pretty proud of what we've achieved, both with our contractors and through the Navy, in producing a product that Canadians can definitely be proud of. We're in a ship where we feel comfortable once we get all the bugs worked out, get the crew worked up, to where we can go in harm's way with confidence that we can do our jobs and survive to come back to our families.
Calgary, sixth in a line of 12, joins her natural element. But before she commissions into the fleet, 18 months of fitting out lie ahead of her, when she's transformed from this bare hull and superstructure to a powerful, smart warship, a warship of very considerable capability. She's one of 12 new Canadian patrol frigates. They'll all be afloat by the mid-90s. Some are undergoing trials. Others are fitting out. And the remainder are still under construction. Halifax, lead ship of the class, was delivered to the Navy in the summer of 1991. The last and 12th ship in the program, HMCS Ottawa, is on schedule for delivery in 1996.
We expect HMCS Calgary and her sister ships to provide for our maritime needs for many years to come. They're modern technological marvels. They will meet our needs close to home and meet our needs around the world. It is the ship that we need, I believe, for the 90s and for the turn of the century.
Well, Calgary is the second ship of the FELEX program. The first one was HMCS Halifax, which is on the East Coast. So we are the second that went through the project itself, the extended work period, and the Halifax-class Modernization.
HMCS Winnipeg was commissioned in 1995. And at that time, we had a command and control system that was designed in the late 80s, implemented in the 90s, and we've had it on board for the past 20 years.
Vancouver's weapon systems are probably some of the most advanced in the world. However, the level of integration that we've achieved in this ship with all the different computer systems and the command and control system that run the ship are probably the gem of what makes the ship what it is and makes the ship the most advanced combat system in the world.
When this ship was built in 1992, the 486DX chip had just been released in the computing world, which means that You couldn't support a 486DX computer running Windows 3.1 now if you wanted to. You wouldn't be able to find software to run it. You wouldn't be able to get spare parts for that computer. And warships are no different than that.
Much of the technology on board the ship is circa 1980s technology. And of course, missile technology and other weapons advance. And so as we're now in the 2010 and beyond time frame, it's necessary to update a lot of the electronics and some of the mechanical systems to bring the ship up to a level that they can deal with modern threat.
Torpedo, 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 bearing 045!
Ocelot Toro 2 FBA closing our force from the northeast. Let me know when you have eyes on, and we're looking for wings 30 and we're looking for bomb toss.
These ships didn't come out equipped with the internet. There were no networks on board. In fact, there wasn't even space on the desks for computers.
One of the bigger changes that we're going to see on board the new class of ship is we're going to go from the current consoles, which do not have any IT workstations at them. We have a lot of laptops on board at present, to a console that integrates both unclassified and classified networks at the workstation, which will allow the user to actually see in real-time communications via chat networks and via email to other units, notably other NATO units.
Now we look at a current and evolving threat that is faster, stealthier, more maneuverable, and able to really exploit the advantages of being in that more congested littoral in a way that it challenges our systems.
The inshore environment is very complex. It provides fresh water mixing with salt water, multiple temperature layers, which makes anti-submarine warfare very difficult. And of course, you're operating close to land, which means that threats from land and from over the land approach with very reduced warning times, which means that you need to have sensors and weapons that are capable of reacting far faster than the ones for which the ship was conceived. And on top of that, they have to be able to operate in an area where there's a lot of clutter, a lot of merchant shipping. A lot of land and islands where threats can hide and can strike you with virtually no notice, which means that you lose your reaction time. In order to buy that reaction time back, you have to basically build and buy new sensors with a lot of processing capability in order just to see what's going on in order to defend yourself when you're operating close inshore.
Oh, yeah, no, this project has been years in the making. Much of it has been happening both at the Ottawa level in the designing and planning, as well as right here in the fleet with just interacting with the individuals who operate on board these ships and asking them what needs to be upgraded, what are you finding out. Every time we put to sea, we go through a lessons learned process where we actually report back on what types of things our counterparts have improved upon and how we found it difficult to integrate or if we had any issues along the way, what kind of things we need to do to upgrade our system. So that's all been fed back now to Ottawa, and they were able to integrate all those different requests as much as possible into the new design and development, so that way they're responding to the changes that we've identified here within the fleet ourselves.
Considering that we're going to be operating the Halifax-class frigates for the next 15 to 20 years, it's vitally important that we have that midlife upgrade. Generally speaking, in shipbuilding programs, you don't really hit your efficiency stride till you're into about the 6th ship of a production program. To a large extent, despite all the modern technology in shipbuilding is still an art, particularly the steel building part. Ships are still handmade by skilled artisans. So skilled tradesmen that do the work in the ship, even in a modernization like this, have to learn their business, be it how to efficiently run cables in the ship, how do we efficiently remove equipment, how do we efficiently install equipment. So being first of class is difficult because, of course, you're the platform in which everybody learns those hard lessons.
So this is sort of the process of baselining the ship. The military is removing a lot of the old equipment that requires overhaul. We've replaced some of the diesels that the military said would be replaced before it goes to the civilian shipyard. And we're removing all of the extra things that were added to the ship, destoring it, defueling it, removing all the ammunition, getting it ready to turn over to the civilian shipyard. And that is about a 6-month process to remove everything from personal clothing and bunking to the 20 years worth of spare parts that have been on board to the ammunition and fuel.
It's an extremely busy process for the ship. There's not just activity going on in the ship with the ship's company. There's people coming and going from the fleet maintenance facility all hours a day, 24/7. Most things have to be removed or changed or cleaned. There's hundreds and hundreds of people coming on board and leaving throughout the day, and then there's thousands and thousands of things that have to be done on board before it can be officially signed over to the shipyards, where they actually engage in the heavy changes.
Cutting holes in the hull because there's so much heavy equipment. The old electronics, what used to be able to be done by a computer bank that was 6 feet long and 3 feet wide is now being done by something that is the size of a laptop. So all of these old things are very difficult to remove from the ship, and they're actually cutting a hole in it to remove, and that's being done by Vic Shipyards and Lockheed Martin. That's responsible for this part of the contract.
Shortly, all the deck plates that are just below us here will be pulled up. If you do pull those up anytime, you'll see miles and miles of cabling that has to be removed, but before that is removed, it has to be logged, and personnel have to check every single end of it, make sure they record where it's coming and where it's going, and then that has to come back in later on with all the new equipment. It's a big task. If you go anywhere in the ship, look up, you're going to be accosted with cabling that no one's ever seen in their life, unless you've worked on board a ship. In a combat ship or a military warship, every single system is connected to one another in some way or another, both for power, for information, or for any other network connectivity between different things. And that means for miles of cable, because every system can't just be connected in one way. In a warship, everything has to be redundant. That means everything has to have at least 2, 3, 4 sometimes cables running from different areas. So that's a big task, as you can imagine, is that every single line of cable has to be recorded somewhere, where it starts, where it ends, where it goes, what spaces it goes through. And if you look between different spaces, they're sealed in with a certain type of putty material, which is there for sealing the cables, making sure they're secure as they proceed through different bulkheads, but maintaining some level of integrity between the spaces as well, for either smoke, fire, or other things that may be an issue with regards to damage control.
If you've seen on the ship and whatever other videos I've been seeing earlier, was you see something we call Christmas tree tags. And the Calgary, there was at one point where they sat down for a week doing nothing but those tags, identifying serial numbers, getting technical inspectors to stamp them, and certain people to sign them off. Where this time we were way ahead of the game this time, probably by 4 or 5 months. Okay, here's our piece of equipment, here's a template from the other CPFs, and off we go. Too easy. We're just shy of the 2-month mark from us handing actually over to the civilian side of it. And the last person on board the ship is going to be the CO right here on the bridge, and he's going to sign the document over, and the ship's going to go over completely dark, which is very rare for a ship to leave the security of a jetty all tied up to transit via tugs with no power and no propulsion to stop us.
In early May, we are going to be transitioning to the next part where the ship is actually signed over to another agency, which then turns it over all in one process to the civilian shipyard. So it ceases being a naval ship controlled by the Navy and will be signed for by Victoria Shipyard Limited. And at that time, my whole staff will be functioning ashore, and the crew will be brought down to about only 40 people for care and custody.
I think that's it there, Christian. That looks a lot better. That looks like it's centered.
Roger that, touch the keel block, taking some weight.
That's clear?
Oh, yeah. Very bad visibility.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I think you're probably closer than that by looking at this.
I'm here just to assist on behalf of the QAR, just make sure that things are going according to the contract. But now today, as you can see, it's getting dried out very soon. I'm going to go down there and move around and see if the boat sits on the block in accordance with the plan. And I'll walk around all the keel blocks and the bilge blocks and see everything is in perfect condition.
To redesign the mast for new equipment foundations is probably about a year pre-engineering. But once the ship gets on the blocks, I have to go and survey the existing equipment and feed that information back to St. John to our fabrication facility, and they build that new mast structure in accordance with the new drawings, but to match the existing structure. Once that's built, they deliver it here to Halifax, and we install it, and I have to then align it to the ship's conditions and training lines and planes. It's a testimony to an excellent design right from the start that we've only had to change a few foundations to accommodate all the new technology, and these ships will provide service to Canada for another 20 years.
The ship in about 1 year will be turned back over to the Navy, and then about a year-long process starts where we re-embark all the military equipment, and we set to work to make sure it's functioning properly, and the ship will start doing a sea phase where it's actually trials equipment. So right now we are in the midst of the whole HCM FELEX process. It's a very interesting time.
Employing and leveraging the capability that was built into the frigates for employment around the world. The world's changing, and we need to ensure that we have the capacity to deal with that. And that was the driving emphasis behind this modernization, because as you look at it, having run what we can out of the already built capability, we've taken this opportunity to invest in updating the frigates so that they can have just a successful second half of their life as they had in the first half.